It's a cold outside, and it's a very good morning to you all in it. Can you believe it? Christmas Eve already, and I don't mind binge watching Christmas movies tonight with my children. Yeah, in it.
I knew it.
You didn't get it?
I can. You're
The
struggling
accent did
with.
not accent.
It's not accenting.
There's a mixture of Ijebu and I don't know. This is what we're talking about yesterday. You weren't here yesterday.
All I know is that British blue breeze blew me.
So Lolo,
Blues.
that means you're part of the IJGB. So
of course, I just got back, lady.
Technically.
Honestly, it's Christmas Eve. Yeah. Happy Christmas Eve to you, ladies.
Hey, happy Christmas Eve.
Anyway, you know, in Nigeria, a lot of us don't particularly think Christmas traditions, but we do it unconsciously. So, can you tell me something you used to do as a family, like growing up, that is like your tradition during Christmas time? Like maybe watching movies, or like a cinema day, or going out for dinner, or traveling. What did you do as a child that was you would associate with Christmas?
We just ended up always having family and friends over.
Yeah.
I think as a Nigerian child, even going abroad, there was nothing about Christmas that was like,
such a big deal.
Yeah, so they'll put envelopes with everybody's name in the tree with money.
Well, we never even put up a tree.
We didn't even have a tree, exactly.
I never put up a tree.
Yeah, a few presents, and then we cook and we have friends and family over.
For Christmas, I don't remember anything significant aside the special food we cook. It's New Year. We celebrate. We kill a ram. My father will kill a ram. So it's always very exciting because the ram is already in the house. So from Christmas to New Year Day, everybody gets to look at it and it bleeds and everybody knows that, yeah, they're going to kill it at Christmas. At New Year.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We'll go to church on Christmas Day. Then we'll have jollof fries and all the yummy stuff. Yeah. But we didn't really do our party until New Year Day.
So I think mine, the days leading up to Christmas were even almost more exciting than Christmas because when my mom is coming back every day, we're waiting to see, okay, is it today she's buying the Christmas clothes? Is it tomorrow? And then there's this 3-in-1 4-in-1. It has the cap.
Yeah.
It has one bogus gown and then the shoes and the bag, all the same design. So once she buys it for you, I can't remember how she used to buy it for my brother, it's like monkey jacket thing. Once she buys it for you, I remember I will hang it in front of the wardrobe from the cap to the shoe to the bag. And then I will wake up in the middle of the night scared. Because my mom would be like, but you hung it.
But anyway, on Christmas morning, my stepmom used to make the baddest yam and corned beef sauce. Then there was no, where am I seeing corned beef sauce? So not the corned beef sauces I've seen in this time. You just put it inside the stew. You will not know whether there's corned beef in the stew or not. But we used to make this thick, very yummy corned beef stew that we used to eat yam in the morning every Christmas day. Then it's a sure banker that jollof rice is going to show. And they have to with chicken.
With chicken.
It's only New Year we eat meat, goats or ram or whatever they kill.
But you know, as we talk about this Christmas Eve and the traditions, you know, last week we did the Jasiri on the streets, and the financial situation is impacting people's ability to either have the tradition continue or start a tradition as it may be. And I think that's really a part of this conversation. So wherever you are, however the situation is, if we're all making it to Christmas tomorrow, you know, start any new tradition or don't hold on to a tradition. Just celebrate and be grateful to be able to celebrate with family and friends.
I want to start a new tradition. I won't come to work. How about
that? How about that?
You ordered me to start a new tradition. My boss has told me to start a new tradition.
You'll be jobless after the holidays.
Thank you for answering her. You see how I did not give her an answer in this situation.
That's my new tradition.
Oh my God. But it's really wonderful that you build tradition.
Yes.
Even though this year I am building no tradition. My children have become greedy for money. All I do is give them money. I brought I gave them £50 yesterday to break and share. My children didn't even feel like, oh, mommy, why? They just kiss me, mommy, we love you. I don't see them for Aja market. They don't go break their money to start sharing and spending. I say, see these children.
But I don't like it when Christmas feels ordinary, especially growing up with all of that tradition. So I do agree. It's important to have, like, tomorrow I didn't plan anything for Christmas, but I'll definitely find a way to visit people.
You didn't buy her a bubbly hat.
I'm surprised you people have not done matching pajama
picture.
Me and dog.
You are your first
I'm not that
child.
hopeless.
I didn't say your firstborn, but I said your first child.
Yeah, but I mean, I have a photo shoot with him already. We've done one this year now.
But so it's not Christmas. Someone who just said you don't like it when Christmas feels
I will Photoshop it. But I'll be going to studio with what the economy is saying. Never mind.
All right, let's move on. We can give you traditions as much as we want, but one interesting tradition that involves the president might just be coming back. So on Monday evening, President Tinubu had the first media chat since he took office on May 29, 2023. It was former President Olusegun Obasanjo who started presidential media chats during his administration. President Musa Yar'Adua continued the chats during his time, as well as President Goodluck Jonathan after him and President Muhammadu Buhari. But not everybody was as consistent as Obasanjo. So let's take a look at some of what President Tinubu said.
From organizers' point of view, or are you looking at it from the goodwill gesture of the people trying to give out whatever they have access to? And it is very sad that people are not well organized. We just have to be more disciplined in our society. Condolences to those who lost a family member. But it is good to give. I have been given out foodstuffs, commodities, and clothing envelopes and body loan for the last 25 years. I've never experienced.
Okay, there's a lot more. It was about an hour-long media chat. And at the end of the day, he spoke about a number of things. The president did talk about the fact that he was standing by his decision to remove fuel subsidy and harmonize foreign exchange, that's the forex rate, describing them as necessary steps for economic recovery. I'll quote the president now. He said, "We were spending our future. We were spending our generation's fortune. We were not investing. We were just deceiving ourselves." He also explained that these measures were essential to redirect the country towards sustainable development despite initial economic shocks. He also said tax reform is here to stay. We cannot continue to do what we were doing yesterday in today's economy. And then he spoke about electricity, all this Band A, the electricity tariff. And the president advised Nigerians to learn how to manage electricity consumption to survive the high tariff. I quote, "It's not negative to learn to manage. You learn to control your electricity bill, switch off the light, learn to manage." The president also spoke on issues around security as well, saying he has confidence in his security architecture and that Nigerians will start to see gains. He spoke about his reforms and he said that Nigerians will also start to see gains from that a lot. And then he spoke about not reducing the size of his cabinet. And said that, no, we need to understand that they have to be representative of Nigerians, that this is a country of over 200 million something people. And it's just... so there was a lot, but that's, you know, some of the things that really came up at the top. Ladies?
I think the more this man speaks, the more infuriated people become. And I don't think that it's a media chat if the people are not opportune to talk to him and tell him how they feel. You're saying all of these things he has said are things that he has said before. This was not I don't know if there's another name that they can give it to it, but this was not a chat. It was like an instruction, a media instruction, or a reminder of what the economy is and what the people are going through. And the fact that you do not even deem it fit to at least try. And at this point, I don't even mind you pretending to give people hope. But you coming out, defending your actions, enforcing your actions, it just doesn't
I'm
make
just
sense.
wondering that, okay, the people that manage the president, is it that they do not go to school? There is a way that you can package a chart. Just like Tolu would say that if you're writing a sentence has to have how many paragraphs?
A paragraph has to have five sentences. A beginning, a middle, and an
ending. So I would believe that if a president is about to address the people and he wants to give a wholesome address, they should talk about the challenges, what they are doing, and what they hope to achieve.
But he did that. But I think people are just not satisfied with the answer.
You can't just tell me that you are reeling out all the things that that ails the people, that the challenges that are obvious to all. What you should be amplifying are the things that the people would gain eventually. So telling us to manage when half of the states have not even adopted the
minimum wage
that they put down. So you're telling me that people are still managing on their old income? Do you know that some people cannot even afford to drive their cars every day? Because if you put fuel in your car, you have to know how long the stretch of it. Those that have children in school, do you know how difficult my children's school, if you see the list of parents owing, it's so long. Everybody is managing, and you just come out and just tell us to manage.
Honestly, so I think there are a few things here. Let's not forget that this is not constituted. It's not. He's not required to do this. Former president,
but he did it. So that means if you put yourself out there.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo started this, and let's be honest, it also suited Obasanjo's style, especially at the time that he was president. It suited his leadership style, his humor, his theatrics, and even his ability to, in a way, manage people. One thing you made a point of in terms of the people who manage him. I know that they sense an obvious disconnect between the presidency and the Nigerian people, and they seem to now be trying to close that gap. But it doesn't have to be the same way it was done before, because I don't think, personally for me, I don't think this suited the president's style. And then probably if I'm looking at the production of it, I was watching yesterday and I sent a message to like 2 of my groups. I'm like, this is very painful to watch. There were lags, there were places in which you could see the reporters or the interviewers wanting to jump in, and I felt that they were restrained. And I'm not saying they were restrained maybe with instructions, but they were restraining themselves because they were in the presence, because it was the president who was talking. I know one of them has come out to say that they were not given any questions, and they were not asked to provide questions before this chat. But still, you have a situation where it was even yesterday we heard that the president was having a media chat. That means a lot of media houses. Social media is big right now, and I'm not saying that they need to take live comments from social media, because that would have been a firestorm. But you could have said 2 days ago that the president is having a media chat. What are your questions for him? Exactly. Take the questions that are reasonable, infuse it into it, And I think there's just a lot more they can do. This is talking about PR and packaging and spin, in packaging him and presenting him.
I always say that half of the time, people do not know what image...
we call it image laundering.
Image laundering is. You can make a bad person look good if you have the right hands handling the job.
So I get all of this, but I'm always big on how this will affect me as a citizen, as an ordinary man. All of this thing that you have said. So the summary of what you have said now, what I heard is him being defensive and being 100% unrealistic, right? I know that it's a house style that you want to maintain, but I don't see how this relates to the ordinary man. You were saying that we should manage is just like an insult, because we are kings and queens of management. We have learned to adapt to the point that it has become an insult on us.
So look at the amount of chaos that happened in recent times. I was so unhappy when I first heard the Ibadan issue, where children lost their lives. The same happened in Abuja. And then it happened in like 3 other places. And the only thing I could take away was that people are hungry. If people would go into the school, the one in Ibadan, they said women were throwing their children.
Not said, we saw the videos. They were pulling children up to drop them over into the compound.
And they were hurting their children that way, because they would think somebody would probably catch them. How about somebody? But if there was no hunger in the land,
so
people will not be this desperate.
We had this conversation yesterday, and I might still be the lone voice. I don't think all of this is attributable to poverty and hunger. But hold on, because we have people to talk about this crowd control issue, but we want to take a few reactions to the president's first media chats yesterday. Somebody said, I wish and hope that a day will come when the president of this country will come live on air and take calls from average Nigerians who may all their lives not have the means of talking directly to their leaders. It'll help the president understand where the shoe pinches. Let's get another one. The only thing I saw in the presidential media chats is an arrogant man who doesn't care what the population thinks and really doesn't give a hoot whether everyone in the country dies. A man that, despite his obvious failures, said he would score himself excellent. And I remember one of the interviewers asking him, so are you scoring yourself excellent? Shouldn't Nigerians be the ones scoring you? Presidential media chat. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu just deflecting blames, responsibility, blaming death stampedes on organizers of poverty alleviation programs, blaming subsidy removal effects on past governments, blaming current borrowings on past governments. Baba no they agree at all. And yes, the president said that he's going to borrow. The most interesting part of this media chat is the president's expression of his readiness to discuss and reach a consensus on the contentious aspects of the tax reform bill. His claim on the improvements of security in most areas in the north is true. However, the president's opposition is probing the mismanagement of defense spending under the past administration, rewarded opacity and larceny. English in the morning. I don't know if we have any more reactions.
I think this is all of it.
So it's a big conversation. People want to hear more from the president. We'll clamor for it. One, you'll never satisfy all the people, but I think there are still ways in which you can package him or package any leader, and ways in which this can be done.
I don't even think
one thing that Blessing said is very correct. A lot of people, oftentimes now, they prefer silence because when leaders speak to them, they feel a shifting of the blame, a lack of taking accountability, a lack of transparency, and insensitivity to the plight of the people. And people are just like, you know what? Don't annoy me tonight.
Yes, we keep hearing things are going to get better. I need to see that glimmer. At least if you said there's light somewhere, you're going to see either smoke or a little glimmer that says, okay, this is going to work. But everybody just keeps telling us we're going to reap the dividends of all these hard times.
I think that's the most annoying part of it.
And I cannot still see
where the dividend is.
Where I would say, okay, this is
that's the path to the dividend.
Do you know what I realized? We're living in such a pseudo reality, and every time they come out and say have hope, but they're not painting a picture of what hope looks like. Is it more borrowing? Are we borrowing more money? So hope now is learning to manage. What exactly is the hope? There's no, like you said, there's no glimmer of
no light.
There's no ray of sunshine that we're expecting. It's just hope.
On the last note, you talk about living in a pseudo reality. The president said that we have been living in a false reality. But we'll leave it at that. If we keep going on this, Lola, we need to take a break.
Anyway, it's good to be back in Lagos, even though I definitely did not miss the traffic. Honestly, I kept hearing about the traffic when I was away, but I did experience some of it. And it's good to be back on the table with the ladies. Thank you so much for keeping my chair warm. But we will switch gears now. It's not a sharing conversation we're about to get into next. After the break, we're talking ensuring effective crowd control at events. We have the Director General of the Lagos State Safety Commission, Lanre Mojola, joining us shortly. So please stay with us. Very important conversation.
You're watching Jasiri, and you can join the conversation via our social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. Now, this weekend, Nigeria witnessed 2 more incidents which led to the loss of lives. At least 20 people lost their lives in Okija in Anambra State following a stampede that occurred during a rice distribution event. On Saturday as well, there was another incident at a church in Abuja where 10 people, including 4 children, lost their lives. And the deaths of 35 children at a fun fair event last week in Ibadan is still very much at the forefront of our minds. That's why it is critical we have the conversation we're having now. We need to address the critical issue that has caused the loss of lives and left many questioning safety measures at public events. These events, which turned tragic for many, have highlighted the urgent need for effective crowd control strategies. They also raise important questions about planning, execution, and accountability. So we went straight to the source here in Lagos State. Joining us now is Lanre Mojola. He's the Director General of the Lagos State Safety Commission. And he also brought with him Mr. Femi Giwa, General Manager of the Lagos State Command and Control Center. Gentlemen, welcome to Jasiri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Very welcome.
Thank you so much, Joy.
I hope people are prepared to hear what I suspect we're going to hear today.
Yes, it's going to be the truth.
I hope the truth.
And they don't like to hear that.
The truth and nothing but the truth.
Let's get started.
Okay, so very quickly, the 3 incidents that Tolu just highlighted have really raised concerns for many people across Nigeria. One in Ibadan, one in Okija, and the other in Abuja. Hindsight, they say, is 2020. Now, the organizers will be looking back and thinking of the things that they could have done differently. And it often seems that crowd control and crowd safety are secondary issues for many people here. So let me start by asking Mr. Lanre, what are the common causes for some of such issues, some of these safety issues at several events?
Thank you very much for having us. First of all, starts by saying that our hearts go out to people that lost lives. To families, it's a tragedy, and we commiserate with these families. The causes are clear. You've seen some of these videos back to back and identify some of the root causes. You can see that there were clear failures in terms of organization. Any event has to be managed, and there are 3 stages to manage an event. There's pre-event, there's during event, and there's also post-event. So it all starts with the planning. You have an event. Have you planned? Have you done your risk assessment? Have you done all your mitigations? Have you identified all the possible hazards? If these hazards then crystallize, you swing into recovery and response. What are the plans to ensure that things just don't fall apart? A lot of these failures were clearly seen. From those videos, watching those videos, it was very clear that there was a lot of incompetence on the side of some of the organizers. We understand, again, that they're trying to do, they're trying to help. But whilst trying to help, the onus, the duty of care is also on you to ensure you're doing it in an absolutely safe manner. Because if you were to ask those people that lost their lives in retrospect, that would you have chosen to take a bag of food and lose your life? They would have said no. Nobody would deliberately walk into a situation knowing that their lives might have been lost, a death trap. So the onus lies, and the duty of care is on the organizer to ensure that these events are managed appropriately well. As I go along, I'll talk to you about some of the strategies that can be deployed, some of the things we're doing in Lagos State to ensure that we don't have these issues.
Well, thank you very much. Because there are different kinds of events, and I know that there are different kinds of requirements that you, for safety measures. I've gone to events, even when it comes to like event centers, you need to have at least more than one door where people can go out from, and all, little, there must be fire extinguisher. You must make sure that you have, access to the doors. You cannot put tables and chairs to block, the doors. There's so many little details. But now I want to think, because this Ibadan event, the one in Ibadan particularly, it involved children, as did the one in Abuja. Let's say the Okija one, it's more adults. But are there things that organizers need to do differently, especially where children are present? Or, whether it's a concert, a charity event, a giveaway, are there things to be done differently, sir?
Yeah, thank you so much. Once again, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be on this platform. I think the Director General has said a lot. So many things need to be done. Sometimes we are so carried away by the fact that we feel that we only plan for what we call unplanned events. When we have emergencies, disasters, crises, and other related incidents that are usually classified as unplanned, emergencies and disasters. We put in place contingency plan, put in place evacuation plan, response plans, and the rest of them. But the truth is that both for planned events and unplanned events, you must follow certain protocols. And I'm sure the DG Safety will be able to shed more light on that. For example, I'll give you a good example. There's what is called capacity management. Now, for every event, there's what we call the maximum capacity. And you'd, of course, recall that my highly esteemed Director General talked about site assessment. He also talked about risk assessment. Now, how do you know the capacity of a site? You must be able to carry out what we call site assessment. You want to know the number of people that the site should be able to accommodate. You must not work beyond the carrying capacity of the size of that event. And once you have done that, you should also be able to look at what are the likely harms. Sometimes, no matter how much you plan, you talk about unforeseen circumstances.
Yes.
Now, we should also be able to look at what are the likely hazards, what are the harmful events that could actually take place while we're having this program. And then we'd also look at risk and say what are the expected losses or the potential losses that will accompany most of these harms. And then we begin to plan. Now, sometimes it is also good for us to ensure that planned events are usually done in such a way that we issue coupons, we issue things that will be that will help us to be able to maintain. If we say, okay, the capacity is going to be 100, and then we're giving 100 coupons out, or we're going to give whatever we're going to give to ensure that those who are coming are actually planned for, and we don't exceed it.
You can see me shaking my head.
Yes, and
I've been to events in Lagos where they have oversold tickets intentionally.
So it is very, very important that we ensure that we stick to the maximum capacity that particular facility should be able to accommodate. And this is a function of our site assessment and risk assessment. And after we have done that, it's also very important that we are able to look at the event flow design. Now, it is it's also important for us to know that the flow and the design of any facility should be such that we must be able to make provision for what we call multiple routes. Entry routes, movement routes, and then also exits. And what that does is that it, to a great extent, reduces the number of crowds. For example, if you just have single routes for entrance, for movement and exit. And this, of course, you'll be able to maintain through a zoning system using barriers and barricades. So that at the end of the day, knowing the kind of people that you're expecting, the number of children, the number of adults, you do what you call, you are able to, look ahead based on the peculiarity of the event you're going to have. So when you do that, you are able to streamline so that you don't have stampede, especially when an unforeseen circumstance actually happens. Because you have had multiple entry, multiple routes for movement, and multiple routes for exit. I'm sure that the DG safety will, in the fullness of time during this event,
we'll talk about strategies and we'll also talk about consequences. Because I know places in this Lagos that are clearly flouting the things that you have said, but we'll get into that. Blessings, let's continue.
I mean, sadly, these stampedes happen across the world, and looking at some of the issues that we've seen in the past, we've seen concerts, for example, where people are jam-packed, artists are selling out stadiums and halls, but looking at some of the contextual factors that may be present, how do infrastructural, organizational, and possibly cultural factors contribute to poor crowd management in a place like Nigeria, Mr. Mojola? I mean, he mentioned, for example, that it's important to enforce crowd control, looking at the capacity of the hall, but it's very hard to implement that when even the people themselves organizing the event, sometimes there are always loopholes, or people, you say this card, how do they say it? Admits just one. Yeah. That one will come with their own plus one and say what God has joined together, and things like that.
Yeah, so it's I think it's multifaceted. And I'll try and diagnose and talk about all the different angles. I'll start with the government. So the government's duty of care to look after the people and to provide them with information that is required. That is our role. That is what we are meant to do. That is what we try to do. We're not perfect. We keep looking at issues that have happened. We keep looking at lessons learned, and then we continue to fine-tune as we go along. You would recollect during COVID, that we were thrown with something that the world had never experienced before. I think the last pandemic or epidemic was probably in the 1920s or 30s. So about 100 years of roughly, or 90 years had gone by, and no one had experienced this. What COVID helped us to do was to build a system in place to be able to check people when they had to be crowd managed, because people could not interact. So we had to come up with strategies where life could go ahead, but in absolutely very safe conditions and safe manners. So what we did then was to go around all the period where people were at home doing the stay at home and all those times where people could not move. We were identifying locations, we were identifying facilities across the state. As we speak, we have over 12,000 facilities on our database.
What type of facilities?
So we have churches, we have mosques, we have event centers, we have bars, restaurants, lounges, we have salons, we have spas, we have cinemas. Where we've done the hard work, we've looked at the square meter. There's certain dynamics that we use. Once you have a square meter, this roughly 1 square meter, you can have more than one person here. So if 100 square meters, what style are you? Is it cinema style? Is it theater style? What is the arrangement? Are you having a bar? Based on that detail, so based on that analysis, we have assigned you with an occupancy limit. So all the event centers, as we speak in Lagos, have occupancy limits. So for example, an event center will say, oh, I have this large amount of space. And we will go in, we'll do our assessments, and we'll say, yes, you have that amount of space, but these are the spaces that people can sit in. You need to leave clear demarcations for egress. If an incident occurs, how do people get out? You also need to leave clear lines for ingress. You can mix ingress with egress. If a disaster occurs, where are your muster points? You can have people sitting in front of restrooms. So we will then tell them, this is the usable space that you have. Based on the usable space you have, this is the number of people that you can have here. They all have that. All the event centers, all the cinemas, all the theaters, they do have that.
Do they have it clearly pasted out? Sorry, or it's somewhere that if I'm entering as a customer or somebody who's at this center, I can see that this event center has like capacity
so they do have what we issue. We do issue them with safety compliance certificates. So once you walk into the halls, typically on the left or right, you will see a signage.
Like a plaque.
That speaks to the fact that this place has been certified for public use, and these are the numbers of people that can be in this particular hall. If you go to some of these hotels that have conference rooms, you'll see clearly written on the door, 50 people, 100 people. They are more specific in terms of even displaying it directly on the door. So that exists. Now, let's talk about people. And I think that's the biggest problem.
Nigerians.
People, before you get to people, let me lay a foundation, because this is actually the next question.
Right.
It's a very touchy one, and we've spoken on the table about the stampedes in the past few days. There's a conversation around it being poverty-induced and everything, but I personally don't necessarily think that's the whole thing. I think, unfortunately, we as a people can be unruly. We can be very difficult to manage in public space. We don't like to listen to people. And so there's the Ibadan, all that situation. There's Okija, there's Abuja as well. And I even remember some of the fire incidents that we have covered as a news channel in Lagos. And when you look at the people trying to get through the crowd, when you look at first responders, you look at emergency services trying to make their way through the crowd is simply just milling about. There's almost like a lack of awareness or consciousness about safety protocol. And so when you want to talk about people, let's take it from there. Take us through some of the crowd control challenges you've experienced in Lagos.
So I'll start, before I jump into the crowd control strategies, let me speak to the concept of people and culture. I don't like to say this, but it's times like this that we need to tell ourselves the truth. We have a culture where we rush a lot, where we're always trying to jump
we don't
queues.
Want to stay in line.
We are impatient. We need to start to say these things, because if we don't say it, those are the real problems. And these are the baselines that trigger incidents. We've done analysis across board. Accidents happen for 4 main reasons, irrespective of the type of accident. One is impatience and rushing. You know, a driver that is driving that is rushing, an accident is likely to happen. Another is frustration. Frustration comes from so many issues. You're in traffic, you've been sitting in traffic for 3, 4, 5 hours, you're frustrated. You're on the edge, you're not thinking straight. The other is negligence and complacency. And then lastly, fatigue. So when all these factors align, an accident would likely occur. Now let's talk about the stampedes. What has happened is people are anxious. Will this goodie bag get to me?
Yeah, basically.
The organizers have not designed, like my colleague said, they've not designed their spaces in a way where they're clear ingress and egress. A lot of those places, you'll go in, you'll come out from the same place. They did not tag. There was a no tagging system. The tagging system is the coupon system. You have 1,000 goodie bags or food bags you want to give. You have advertised for 10,000 people. What are you expecting would happen? It's a disaster that is. So this takes you back to the planning stage, that a lot of these were not planned. But again, there are now so many strategies that you can deploy. Aside the tagging system, aside the ingress and egress system, you also need to then also get the services of safety marshals. It's one of the things we insist before we issue you a clearance to organize a permit before you organize an event. Safety marshals are trained. They're people, they're not machines. They're people that are trained to identify things that are going wrong. An example, 2 days ago in Lagos Island, there was a charity event. And you know, those are friends of Lagos Island, those boys. They wanted to take over. The safety marshals identified that, oh, this is a challenge. Once these guys take over, the whole event is going to go down. So they met the boys and said, guys, please, can you back? If you don't back off, we are going to stop this event. And we're going to drive away with our truck. They got those guys to understand the message. They got those guys to not even help in assisting the crowd. These are the roles of the safety marshal. The safety marshals are also trained in first aid and cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So if the event crystallizes and an incident occurs, they can swing into disaster management as first responders, even before the paramedics come. Now, one of the things we also state is that for any event above 500 people, you must have an ambulance on standby.
Honestly, I almost took that out of your mouth.
We were going to ask about that.
Because I have gone to a lot of high-profile events that are held in massive venues, and I'm looking around and I cannot see an ambulance station or a medical
marshal
or anything. So the message that I would like to pass today is that when you go out and you see those things, the three things: see it, say it, sort it. And that's why the command and control general manager is here. You're at an event, you don't see an ambulance, you see cars, 500 cars, 10,000 cars, 1,000 cars, no ambulance, please, the command and control center is there. Because this is there's a likelihood that if anything occurs there, there is no disaster backup.
But the thing is, how aware are people? Because I was even going to ask you if you have a lot of event planners consulting you.
Oh, okay.
A lot of events happen in Lagos that sometimes someone just thinks on their feet, like tomorrow I want to have a party, and then they're planning a party. There's no consultation whatsoever. There's no overview of the place. So a lot of people that are not even aware that these things are necessities.
So I'll tell you what. So we also had that. It's a journey, and we're still on the journey. We would not claim that we're perfect, but it's a journey where we continue to fine-tune some of these lapses that we find. So the event sector has been such that there's been easy entrance into it. There's no certifying body. That's it. Unlike a medical doctor, you can't just decide that you're a medical doctor, a pharmacist, or an engineer. You have to be current certified to do a structure. The event space, I can decide in my house that I've done a number of videos on YouTube, and I want to then become an event planner. But what we realized is, so when we started, we were doing a lot of enforcements, closing and sealing and sealing. Then we said, hold on a second. What are we? People that were sealing don't even know what they're meant to do, sealed for. So it became also a problem for us where they would say the Safety Commission is just sealing. So we stopped and we changed our strategy. And our strategy now is we continue to identify the risk, but we're doing a lot more on education and engagement. A lot of event planners, I think there are 4 associations in Lagos State that are in charge of events, and they have a pool of people running to thousands. We've done so many trainings for these people, you know. Some of them are practical trainings, some of them are online trainings. We're moving to a point where we can even start to give them event handlers cards. So if you don't have that handler's card, you cannot be an event planner. We're not saying that we don't want people to go into event planning, but what we're saying is there's certain basic things that you need to know. For example, people will come in with, I think they call them these dishes.
Chefing dishes. They have the fire.
And they have fire, yes. And people are smoking as well nearby. We've had incidents where people were sharing fuel, very flammable substance
I was there when they were having
event centers.
An award ceremony a couple of years ago on this Billings Way, burnt to the ground.
Yeah, we've had situations where the decorators, interior decorators will come and they would drape the whole place and they would have lights. And the light is running and the socket is nearby and these things heat up. So there's fabric, you know, what causes the fire? The oxygen, the heat, the trigger. Then we start to get these things. There's fuel. You have the fuel, you have the material, it's all over. You have oxygen. So it's important that the events, the message that we keep passing now is any event that you need to do has to be done in a safe manner. Any event in Lagos State that is above 250 people need to be registered. We have a platform which is www.lesgsafetyreg.com. You come onto that platform. We don't want you to come to our office because it defeats the purpose. Go onto this platform, register your event, 250 to 500, 501 to 1,000, 1,001 to 2,000, 2,001 and above. That classifies you as a large event. And then every single category has things you need to do. You need to take pictures of what your floor plan is. You need to show us what your emergency preparedness plan is.
Are people submitting?
Oh, yes, we've registered over 150,000.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, this has become perhaps the highest focus for us now at the Safety Commission.
Okay, let me bring Mr. Giwa into this because I asked you about challenges of crowd control and you talked about that, and in a way, I want to say I don't understand how you're doing it because with Lagos in particular, this end of the year has been we're busting at the seams, and people seem to still be coming in. We're just about to do Christmas. There's still New Year's. Even I won't lie, I was out. Italawa weekend. Italawa weekend. It's on more. You know, let's be honest. But in all of that, in terms of the command and control center, what are some of the challenges you guys have encountered, particularly, especially at a period like this?
Yeah.
Well, at times like this, everybody's in high spirit, You've got friends, you've got family members, you have people. In fact, the number of events during the festive period is usually unprecedented.
Yeah.
And that, of course, you can't take away sometimes, in the spirit of of the season. So for us, we have had a number of calls, Sometimes at the Command and Control Center on a single day, you can have between 80 to 100,000 calls per day. I know you say what? Yes, 80 to 100,000 calls per day.
Wow.
And what that means is that, and I think I'm just going to break that down. Now, there's what we call linked incidents. For example, my sister here actually saw something going wrong. She's reporting, and almost 100, 1,000 person is reporting that same incident. So we call them linked incident. So we've seen a number of calls come in because, of course, the Command and Control Center is the operational hub, and we are for operational hub for the coordination of emergency response activities.
Generally,
because we are the gateway to all first responders, and we are the custodian of the 112767 emergency toll-free line. If you put up a call through that 767 or 112, it will be relayed to the Command and Control Center.
I will testify. I called them when they first launched a few years ago. All the things I talked about, fire on a coal bridge, an accident, were responded to. And I was even impressed that about a week later, somebody called me to ask, how was your engagement with the operator? Was the thing you spoke about, was it sorted? That was really impressive for me.
I did see them seal up. The one event that happened that they were sharing fuel in an event hall. Was that?
That was us, yeah.
So
that escalation came.
So all the escalations you see is from the Command and Control Center. And honestly, we need to give kudos to the administration of Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola. He's so passionate, so committed. He's driven by his passion, a lot of upgrading, funds set aside to further put the Command and Control Center at the global stage with state-of-the-art technology where we can monitor. Apart from the fact that incidents are related to the Command and Control Center, we do what we call deployment. We dispatch first responders, and on real time, we monitor those incidents, specifically for few hotspots, because we have, some of you may not know, there are cameras in Lagos.
Yeah.
And these cameras, and some of these cameras are terminated at the Command and Control Center. We have a video wall matrix technology where on real time you can monitor those incidents. And that takes us back to managing events. I know the DG Safety is very adept when it comes to safety. He is a quintessential manager of safety. I mean, with so much experience globally and even locally. Now, when you talk about, sometimes people organize events. Sometimes they don't do what we call real-time monitoring of that event. We just feel that once we organize event, people are there. No. The responsibility behoves on the organizers of that event to put in place strategy for monitoring, using requisite technology and communication facility. For example, you see, like he said, especially for large events, where you're having over 1,000 plus or 2,000 plus, there are needs for you to ensure that you put in place requisite facilities or incentive to monitor, such as drones, cameras, so that once you begin to see aggregation of people, and it is very, very likely that you're going to have stampede. He has said, see something, say something, and then sort it out. And how do you sort it out? Is when you say something. You dial that 767-112. The truth is that every safety and security agencies are domiciled in the command and control center, especially there's a particular part that is called the control room, the emergency operations. You see of first responders, the representative of. So if you have an incident that is security related, the RRS has what they call control 4. And that control 4 is connected to the commissioner of police. You dial that number, the area commander or the divisional police around that area is deployed immediately. So it is very, very important to monitor, and then there must be an effective communication system.
Yes,
especially for the marshals, for the safety marshals, for the crowd control marshals. We should be able to communicate seamlessly. There must be room for interoperability and then redundancy too, so that when you are using a channel or another channel, you are able to talk. It is when you communicate that, look, we are having a drift, so that at that point in time, you will be able to activate your response plan. So it's very, very important.
Sorry, we have 5 minutes. 5 minutes, time is going. Yeah. But we said about that we also talk strategies, which you gentlemen have highlighted. But also I think there's an area of personal responsibility as well that we should emphasize. And yes, the Lagos State Governor recently issued a warning regarding events in Lagos, asking anyone planning to do anything to get in touch with the Lagos State Safety Commission. And of course, you talked about the registration and all that. But in terms of personal safety and personal responsibility, what do people need to do? So me, I'm one of those people who enter somewhere, where's the exit? I want to know where the exit is. I'm mentally planning my way that if something should happen, how do I find myself at the nearest exit? But I think we said it, a lot of us are not that conscious, that aware of our surroundings, of things happening around us. And this is dirty December, and Lagos is dirty and busting at the seams. So for personal responsibility in regards to this, what should individuals be on the lookout for?
It's very important that personal safety skills are not just things you just develop within a day. It's something that you need to have an eye for. You need to develop yourself as well. There's so many ways. For example, what they call critical triggers that we all have. There's what they call eye on task, mind not on task. Yeah. There's what they call mind on task, eye not on task. So I could be looking, but my mind is somewhere else.
I'm not seeing. Yeah.
My mind might be somewhere. My mind might be alert, but my eyes are not seeing. So the different techniques, personal techniques that you can use to trigger, to self-trigger. There's also what they call the balance of traction. So for example, you're walking into an event center and you're looking at the floor and you're seeing it's glazed ceramic. You should then know that mentally you need to go easy. If people are dancing, you look at where they're dancing. Some of those platforms, you can see ropes and wires and uneven. It's a trigger that, oh, I can fall if I'm dancing here. So it all goes back to us being aware. And like we say, safety is everyone's responsibility. The first onus on safety lies with you first, before ensuring the safety of your other people. I mean, if you're in flight, they'll say if the plane drops to a certain altitude, ensure that you look after yourself first, before helping someone. That is standard practice. What I would like to say is we're at the Safety Commission, we're open to training. We've trained too many people from different, what we've been doing is it's difficult for us to train individuals, but what we do is we train associations, we train groups. So we've had engagements with the construction sector, the event sector, the NURTW, the drivers, the teachers. We are also doing something right now that I must state. We're realizing that it's important for us to train our children in terms of basic safety. So we set up safety clubs in school now. We're doing safety clubs in school. We're having teachers being trained. We're having children being trained. We have safety prefects that will say, even to their moms, that, mommy, that thing's not safe. We have put that gas in the gas cylinder in the kitchen. Take it out. My teacher has told me not. Oh, daddy, that towel that you have used in the bathroom is not safe. In your bathroom, you should not use shiny towels. You should not use shined towels. You should use the ones that are rough edges. We're beginning to see these testimonies. It might take a while, but it's a journey that we all need to commit to. Safety is everyone's responsibility. We'll continue to preach it. We'll never get tired of preaching it.
Yeah, I just want to ask, because your commission, because there's so many high-profile events that are happening on a daily basis. Like, do you have representatives? Is there a requirement, like having a police at like a concert? Do we require people from your organization to be there your agency, like the concert that happened and a stage collapse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I'm talking about large capacity events. Is it a requirement for
and do you do
safety?
spot inspections, like
Oh, yes.
random? I think that's something for this end of the year.
I'll speak to the stage collapse. We actually had people on ground, but there were lapses around security. And so when the artists had just finished and a lot of people moved towards the stage, they had some woofers on the stage that were creating a lot of vibrations.
Oh, wow.
So a section of the stage dipped because of the load, because of massive security breakthrough. And that then caused a section of the stage to collapse. But again, we had over 15 safety marshals on ground. And that's why we swung into recovery, where there were 2 ambulances on ground. And as the ambulances were pulling people out, they were taking them to the hospitals, more ambulances were sent. And that's why we never recorded any fatality. Wow. Imagine a situation where, and then as that incident occurred, people took charge. This is your clear exit. So there was no stampede. The incident has occurred. The truth is, we're not living in a perfect world, so we would always have incidents. But when the incident has occurred, how do you then go into recovery? How do we then go into stabilizing and then moving on? You know, so we do have these things. We enforce it. We do spot checks. I've not been sleeping this holiday period. I've got bags under my eyes.
In January.
We've been going out every night, you know, particularly the higher risk events where you're having 1,000 plus. We have concerts. We don't want people to, it's been a tough year. We want people to come out, to enjoy. We also have the expatriate community in the diaspora. They're spending a lot of money. So we're happy to, and Lagos is the center of Faji. We like to say
it is. And that's why
things have to be done in an absolutely safe
We want
way.
to Faji for this year so that we can also be
around
New Year.
And that's why people are trooping in their numbers. I mean, you've heard it. Safety is everyone's priority. And one thing that he said that stood out: see something, say something, and sort it out. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure having you discuss this very, very important topic. I wish we could continue, but this is the much we can take. I mean, this is the end of the year.
Come back.
Have fun, Faji, Italewa, but be careful. Safeguarding lives at public events require a multifaceted approach, policy enforcement, and some level of personal responsibility. It's a duty that falls on all stakeholders, from organizations and regulators and even attendees. So we hope this conversation has shed light on actionable steps to make public spaces safer for everyone. So our audience, let's continue to prioritize safety. From myself and the ladies and our guests, it's goodbye and Merry Christmas.
You're here.